Hello and welcome back to the El Diablo tutorial series. I'm still Michael and this is part 6 of our tutorial series. So today we will clean up this mess here because we will import new assets. In the video description below you will find again a download link with the toot assets 5.ra. And please download it because we will use it. Then we will create an auto move feature. It is pretty much standard in every hack and slash game, and it will basically move our character to a click position. We don't want to hold our left mouse button down all the time, so our hand can get a little bit more rest. And the last thing we want to do is we will fix the in-game cursor issue with this default cursor here and a camera issue. Okay, so the first thing is we want to import assets. So the first thing we want to do is to clean up our mess here. Well, right click on the El Diablo content folder, create a new folder and call it characters. We will put all our future characters into this folder. Under characters, we will create another folder called tutorial car1. Now click on this little arrow button here so we get the whole structure of the characters folder and all subfolders. Go back to the El Diablo content folder and drag and drop the El Diablo car blueprint into our newly created tutorial car1 folder and move it there. This is step 1. Now we save it and go back to the El Diablo content folder. Click the animation, the characters, the material. Click the animations, the material and the mesh folder and drag and drop them into the tutorial car1 folder and move these folders here. One thing I want to mention is excuse me, if you move your folders in conjunction with any other type Zen folders like a blueprint, a material, a texture or anything like that, it will just move your asset type. It will not move your folders with your assets or with your blueprints or materials or whatever. So please keep that in mind. If you want to move folders or whole folders in one batch, you just need to select all your folders, but nothing else. It can only, or folders can only be transferred to new locations with other folders. Okay, let's get back. We want to go to the El Diablo content and create a new folder, and we will name it weapons. And under the weapons folder we will create a heavy metal folder. Heavy metal is not just a name I put out of my ass, but heavy metal is this word we will use, and I named it heavy metal, so that's why it's called heavy metal. So double click on heavy metal and unpack your toot assets 5.ra. You will find 5 files in it. The first one being the mesh itself, which is a skeletal mesh, and a material for the weapon. The last 3 are animations for our main character here. So first, select the heavy metal mesh and the heavy metal text TGA and drag them into the heavy metal folder or import them there. We get this option, the import options. We want to let our skeletal mesh ticked and the import mesh option ticked. And the skeleton should be on none because we actually import a mesh itself. And that's the web itself. The normal import method should be on import normals and tangents. And please untick the import animations. We will do it ourselves if we add animations to the web itself. So please uncheck it. The rest can remain as it is and click import all and we will get this. We can just dismiss it and we will create 2 new folders under heavy metal. The first one being materials and this should be it, just one folder, because we will not add any animations right now, so our animations folder will just get deleted because there's nothing in there when we reopen the editor. So drag and drop our heavy metal texture into our materials folder and right click on the heavy metal texture and create material. Right now we will not modify our heavy metal texture material because we will do it later on in a different tutorial part. Okay, so go back to heavy metal, double click on heavy metal mesh and select on the left panel under materials our newly created heavy metal material, this here. Now save it, save all, and it will compile our new material. Cool. And the next thing we want to do is to import these 3 animations. So select them and go back to our El Diablo content folder, or rather go into the folder called tutorial car 1, then under animations, and then create another folder under animations called sword animations. Double click on sword animations and import our 3 animations. It will load and we will get our FBX import options. Now these 3 animations are applied on the character and are made for the character. So the first thing is it a skeletal mesh? Yes, it will be applied on a skeletal mesh, so this needs to be ticked. And do we need a mesh? We don't. We only want to use the animation data in it, so we can uncheck this. And we want to apply our animations to our existing skeleton. So click on skeleton or on this none selection and select tutorial car mesh skeleton. This is the only thing you need to do, and click on import all. Our options will be applied now to every following animation, and I hope it doesn't take too much time to import these. Yeah, it should finish up soon. And it's it's still loading. Okay, they are finally imported. Click on File, Save All. And now we go back to the El Diablo content folder. The first thing we want to do now is fix our cursor, because when we press play, we have our default Windows cursor in our game. We don't want that. It looks just stupid. So go back to our folder here, double click on El Diablo PC, and when it starts to open, we go on the right panel and deselect Show Mouse Cursor on the mouse interface. We compile and save it. Now we can continue in here. Because we want to add the auto move feature. So what we need to do is to actually update our add movement component or our add movement input node to stay on a certain course, and do that while we are moving into a certain direction. So the first thing I want you to do is right click here and type in if. We will use the branch node. Why is it called if, or why do we find it under the if keyword? That's because it's called a if statement in programming terms, and it just basically checks if a condition is true, it will fire this off. If it is false, it will fire this pin off. That's what it basically does. So we will move the add movement input to our other branch node here and move our newly created branch node past the add movement input. Connect this end from the add movement input into the branch, and then copy and paste our add movement input by pressing Ctrl C and passing with Ctrl V, or just by dragging out from our get control pawn and by typing in add movement input. If you copy and paste something like this, it will lose its target. So you need to reconnect it again. So you just do it by get it from the get control pawn and plug it into the add movement input. Just a little information. Okay, so we now have this add movement input. We will connect the false with the add movement input, the scale value from the add movement input with our vector length here, and after this execution pin we will type in delay and set it to 0.0001 seconds. And on the completed pin we will reconnect it to the branch we created. Now, what does it do? The first thing is it's being activated. If a condition is false, it will run this tree here, our nodes here. If it is true, it will input or output something in the true node. Now, this means we will move into a certain direction, or we will use the movement command, and we want to use continuously. So if we wouldn't add this manual loop or our custom-made loop, it will just move for a bit and then stop immediately. But we want it to move continuously until it reaches our true condition or our true pin. And this basically means that we reactivate our branch again over and over and over again, like a manual loop. Why do we have a delay here? The reason being, or the reason is that if you don't have this delay node between this, it will literally freeze your computer, because it updates on a frame by a frame basis and in such a ridiculously speed that your computer will just freeze. It's like having a for loop or anything like that running continuously on a frame by frame basis. Not the best idea. Okay. Now, what is a condition? What does it need to check? The first thing it needs to check is, are we actually at the point where we clicked onto? So we will drag out from our get actor location and search for something called the double equal sign. Just put in one equal and another equal, and it will output equal vector. Okay. Now we have the get actor location, but we want to check it with a different location, with our click location, which is being generated by our get hit result under cursor by channel and this break hit result. So our actor location is being checked, okay, and we need to plug the location from the break hit result into our second vector variable. We will take this Boolean here and connect it with our branch node. What this thing does is it compares, is the get actor location equal to the location we clicked on? If it is true, we will fire it off here and we will fire off our execution pin here on the true pin. But I can say to you, this will not work as it is, because this is being executed on tick. We will always get a new click location. We don't want that. So we need a static location which will not be changed, but first updated if we click another time on a different location. So create a variable by dragging out from the location pin, click on promote to variable, and type in auto move location. This will basically save out our click location. So drag it up here between the gate and the branch and connect the exit in the input pin of the set auto move location and the output pin of the set node to the branch pin. Now we can take this pin and connect it down here, or we can just drag out our auto move location and select the get mode. Just plug it into our B vector, and now we are actually set for the first part. Now we will misuse this node. Normally it will output the most accurate result. That's why we have an error tolerance down here. But there is a high possibility that we will walk past our impact location and our character will continue to move on indefinitely. We don't want that. We just want a rough estimate of our impact point. So to create an imaginary radius, we will set the error tolerance to something ridiculously high, like 100. And this will create like an imaginary radius, and it doesn't need to be as accurate as possible. So if we roughly meet our location, we will stop and not continue on. Okay. Now, the last thing I want you to do is right click and type in find a look at rotation. The input pins are start and target. What this basically does is it takes a start point, which is our get actor location, and an endpoint, our auto move location, and it will create a rotation out of it. It will create a rotation going from this get actor location towards the point it is pointing towards. So just connect the return value, or just drag out from the return value, type in get forward vector, and what this does is that it takes, or that it creates out of our rotation here a forward vector, and that's actually the forward facing rotation of an actor. Because our character is constrained to a forward vector, we can input it into the world direction, and it will basically drive our character forward. Okay, now we have set it up, we have our manual loop and such. We can save it, minimize it, save all, and let's test it. We will just click here. That works. And if we click up here, she will move towards here and stop. Wonderful. And what if we combine them? Like, I want to walk towards this point, but now I changed my mind. I want to go that direction, into this direction. And she does it. Wonderful. So it works. And we combine these two methods. Now, there's a single thing we need to change. And that's when we press play and go towards a cube here, our camera will collide and will get very close to our character. We don't want that. So escape, click our, go to our tutorial car 1 folder, double click on El Diablo car blueprint, and go to our spring arm component on the panel, on the left panel here. And then select do collision test, uncheck it. This will basically get rid of this spring arm collision with our meshes, and when we play again, it will not collide anymore with our meshes, and it will not zoom right into our character. That was it. So I hope it was helpful. I wish you a wonderful day, evening, or whatever, and I hopefully see you next time. See ya.